Maybe you can tell me, Sukomalade Mataji, whether we are good or not.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, that's what you say. Then I'll take that for granted, maybe, or I should take that. And it looks like we are. Okay. So we'll get started with the brief prayers to the Special Master. Thank you so much, dear devotees, for joining this call here. For me to stay connected to the Zoom, I got kicked off. Anyway, I'm back and I hope we are still broadcasting. I need to check that. I thought I was over with it, so I have to go back to Facebook again. Okay, joys of material life. Okay, let's see. All right, we are still live. That's what it says. Okay, so let's get started now. Thank you so much, dear devotees, for bearing with me here today. Om Jnana-timirandhasya Jnananjan Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Kadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Shri Yata-padkamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaganam Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahaganam Lalita Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vancha Kalpatarupyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Gaur Pemarande Hare Hare Bol. Thank you so much, Meera Mataji, for joining the call. So, what is the verse for today?
526, Mataji.
526 for 500 full points. Okay, so kāma-krodha-vimuktānāṁ yatīnām yata-cetasām abhito brahma-nirvāṇam vartate viditātmanām kāma-krodha-vimuktānāṁ yatīnām yata-cetasām abhito brahma-nirvāṇam vartate viditātmanām kāma-krodha-vimuktānāṁ yatīnām yata-cetasām abhito brahma-nirvāṇam vartate viditātmanām. Synonyms. Kama, from desires. Krodha, from anger. Vimuktānāṁ, of those who are liberated. Yatīnām, of the saintly persons. Yata-cetasām, who have full control over the mind. Abhitaḥ, assured in the near future. Brahma-nirvāṇam, liberation in the Supreme. Vartate is there. Vidita-ātmanām, of those who are self-realized. Translation. Those who are free from anger and all material desires, who are self-realized, self-disciplined, and constantly endeavoring for perfection, are assured of liberation in the Supreme in the very near future. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Of the saintly persons who are constantly engaged in striving towards salvation, one who is in Krishna consciousness is the best of all. The Bhagavatam 4.22.39 confirms this fact as follows. Yat-pada-pankaj-palasha-vilasa-bhaktya karma-shayam gratitam udgrathyanti santaha tatvanna-nariktamatayo yatayo piruddha shruto ganastamaranam bhaj Vasudevam. Just try to worship in devotional service Vasudev, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even great sages are not able to control the forces of the senses as effectively as those who are engaged in transcendental bliss by serving the lotus feet of the Lord, uprooting the deep-grown desire for fruitive activities. In the conditioned soul, the desire to enjoy the fruitive results of work is so deep-rooted that it's very difficult even for the great sages to control such desires, despite great endeavors. A devotee of the Lord constantly engaged in the devotional service in Krishna consciousness, perfect in self-realization, very quickly attains liberation in the Supreme. Owing to his complete knowledge in self-realization, he always remains in trance. To cite an analogous example of this, Darshana Dhyana Samsparshe Matsya Kurma Vihangamaha Swane Apatyani Pushnanti Tathaham Api Padmaja. By vision, by meditation, and by touch only do the fish, the tortoise, and the birds maintain their offsprings. So fish, the tortoise, and the birds. So in this verse before, which one is the fish?
Matsya.
Matsya, correct, for 500 points. And which one is the bird?
Vihangamaha.
Vihangamaha. And which one is the tortoise? For no points.
Kurma.
Okay. So by vision, by meditation, and by touch only do the fish, the tortoise, and the birds maintain their offspring. Similarly, so do I, O Padmaja. The fish brings up its offspring simply by looking at them. The tortoise brings up its offspring simply by meditation. The eggs of the tortoise are laid on land, and the tortoise meditates on the eggs while in the water. Similarly, the devotee in Krishna consciousness, although far away from the Lord's abode, can elevate himself to that abode simply by thinking of him constantly, by engagement in Krishna consciousness. He does not feel the pangs of material miseries. This state of life is called brahma-nirvāṇaṁ, or the absence of material miseries, due to being constantly immersed in the Supreme. So, absence of material miseries. And miseries come when you are linked with the material world. So we'll stop here now and we'll take some reflections on what you heard so far. Any word that struck your mind?
Brahma-nirvāṇam.
Brahma-nirvāṇam. All right. And what's the deal with Brahma-nirvāṇam? Are you okay, Mataji? You want to have some water?
Yes, Mataji. It's allergy.
Oh, allergies. Okay. All right.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Vindhyavali Mataji. Glad to see you here.
Yeah, I'm late today.
Take
Sorry.
it easy. Take it easy. Take it easy. Okay.
No, I'm going through a lot of things, a lot of allergies. I don't know what to do.
Oh, okay. They'll go away.
I don't know. See, my hands, whole thing crashed.
All right. Okay. So we had just finished reading from 526, Mataji, and we are going to look at, we were just sharing reflections there on,
Oh, already.
what is there, 526, yeah. So one thing that Sutapa pointed out was she liked brahma-nirvāṇam. What else did we hear in the purport?
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandapada.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, everywhere I see that one has to get rid of material desires. This is coming very often, and every time it says rid of material desires, then only you can be liberated or you can get attached to Krishna. So it's like a big thing. It's like first get your 100% and then go towards Krishna. So I feel a little discouraged by this because we still have material desires.
Yeah, it's not like a 0 and 1. It's an evolutionary process. Slowly the material desires will go away, right? Like for all of us, we don't know when the desire to have onion and garlic went away. Right? We didn't have to consciously do that. It goes away. Why? Vishya vinivartante niraharasya dehina rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. So, because param drishtva, we found something better. So when you find something better, the lower is going to go away. Like that, right? And in this verse, he also talks a little bit about how we reach that stage. And we'll go into the details of that. But let's see, what words did you find and spot?
In 526, what words we find in spot? That's what you said?
Yeah, what words caught your attention?
Okay.
Anything specific that stuck your mind? What is the verse saying?
Those who are free from anger and are
Correct.
self-realized.
Those who are free
Anger.
from anger, right?
Mhm.
That's the key verse for today, right?
And anger is very hard to control.
Anger is very hard to control. Yeah. It comes like that, right?
Mm.
So, and we have been talking about this actually, right? In a few verses earlier, we had said, right? Sakno vihaiva yoshodam praksharira vimokshanat kāma-krodha-vimuktānāṁ sa yukta sukhi nara, right? So we had read that a person who has controlled these urges of anger that come from anger and desire, right? Before he leaves this body, is a happy man. Sukhi nara. Okay.
There
So,
was a saying, Mataji, just like something describing anger. What is anger? And they said that anger is a punishment that you get for someone else's mistakes. Someone else does
Very
something,
correct.
says some things, and that makes you angry. So it's, yeah.
Yes, and you're burning your fuel unnecessarily.
Yeah.
Right, right. And so, yeah, so there's anger that abounds. There is anger in us. There is anger exhibited by Nrsimhadev. So anger is there in Krishna also. Anger is there in us. And so what we should do is we should try to engage anger in the services of Krishna, right? Our Arjuna in the beginning of Bhagavad-gita says that I cannot fight. Right? It gives a long lecture in chapter number 1, attacking it from all the different angles, right? It's presenting it to the CEO, Krishna. He has got his proposal there, why he should not fight the war, right? And then later on, the same Arjuna fought the war. So in the war, you get angry, right? So anger will be there. Anger is present over there. We just need to make sure that we engage we connect it with Krishna. Right? Like we can get angry at our bad habits. We can get angry at our bad thoughts, right? At our bad deeds. We can get angry at that, right? We can get angry at somebody who blasphemes our spiritual master. So anger could be utilized in the service of Krishna, like that, right? Sometimes, even if so anger sometimes comes from inside us, right? Because we always say that anger is a younger brother of who's younger brother?
Lust.
Right. Kāma, right? Kāma and krodha. First you have kāma, when the kāma doesn't get fulfilled, you have krodha. Can you cite an example when you had krodha which was not linked to any of your desires?
But Mataji, like Shunal Mataji just now told that anger is the punishment of someone else's mistake. So where the lust is coming in this situation? Means someone told something or someone did something wrong. So lust means...
There is a desire, right?
Yes, means
Yes,
expectation is also called like lust, because we expected that that person will behave good or in good manner. So that is
right.
Lust.
Right. So lust means desire. Sanskrit word kāma means desire. It is not passion,
Yeah.
as we sometimes understand, like physical passion, right? This is part of it, but not everything, right? So it could be like we get angry at the government if the roads are not clean, right? So underneath, there is a desire. What is the desire? The roads should be clean. Similarly, when we get angry at somebody else, right? And what Sukamal was saying, misdeeds of somebody else, right? So for number one, there's misdeeds. So the desire was that nobody should do misdeeds like that, right? But her thing was even deeper, that when somebody else is doing a misdeed, you have a choice of, how do you respond to that? React versus respond. Anger is a reaction that comes like a storm and hits us like a storm, right?
It was a question in the exam, Mataji, that is it okay for devotees to exhibit anger and give examples of where devotees can exhibit anger in Krishna consciousness. Yeah.
Right? And what's the answer?
Yeah, so you can be angry with someone who is a non-devotee, who is blaspheming all the scriptures. You can be angry at someone who doesn't believe in your spiritual master or believe in the philosophy. So you have a right to be angry to all those things. For a devotee.
An example from scripture.
Oh.
Of somebody who displayed anger, huh?
Durvasha Muni?
Yeah, but that was not for good, right?
Oh, no.
Durvasa Muni is a classic example of somebody losing it completely. Although being a Muni, you get angry, right?
Mataji, Hanumanji.
Hanuman, correct. For 500 points, right? Hanumanji got angry at Ravana. And what did he do?
Lanka Dahan.
Lanka Dahan, right? He put the whole Lanka on fire. Like that. So that is doing his service. He got angry. Arjuna was angry in the war of Mahabharata. Like that. Does God display anger? He does, right? Hiranyakashipu. He came to kill Hiranyakashipu. He's very, very angry, right? As Narsingham Dev. Okay. We also find example in Chaitanya Charitamrita when Jagai and Madai, they hit Nityananda Prabhu, right?
And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu got very angry.
Very angry, right? So he's displaying that, when a devotee is in trouble, you should get very angry. Actually, this is a very interesting story I'd like to say, and it'll bring in some old memories for you, Sukamal Radhe Mataji. So it was a Saturday morning, and we were all in the old temple, and Vaisheshika Prabhu was teaching a class. And as usual, he was engaged in collecting reflections from the students. And so our godbrother, Rasik Shekhar Prabhu, he said that he was relating the verse to the political situation there. So he just said, okay, like how this is happening over here. And at that point, when all this was happening, somebody came into the class late, an hour late in the class, made a lot of noise with no respect to the teacher. That class going on, I should not interrupt and all that. Made a big noise, sitting down. And he was sitting right next to me. Those days I was having a lot of pain in my knees. So I was not sitting on the ground. So I was sitting right next to the door on a chair. So he came and sat next to me. And Rasik Shekhar Prabhu was on the floor in the front, close to Guru Maharaj, where he used to sit. So then he started saying that, like how it is happening in the current political. He just said this much. And this man over here comes and says, excuse me, I don't think that, people like politics should be discussed in this discourse. This is not completely, And then Vaisheshika Prabhu got up and said, I don't think so. I think what he's saying is very relevant. And this is our meeting, and we decide what we do in this meeting.
God.
That's it. The man was silent for the rest of the class. So, you speak for devotees. You get angry for devotees. That was the only time I saw Guru Maharaj angry in public. Well, I haven't seen him angry in private also. So people do it. Right? So that's when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started doing, started ready to kill. That's when Nityananda said, no, Prabhu, in this avatar, you don't do this. You are the mercy avatar. You just distribute love. You cannot, you cannot kill, because he was ready with the Sudarshan Chakra. So, so growth should be utilized in the But there is a lot of growth, Interesting facts from Srimad Bhagavatam and the supplementary literature to that. Actually, it's not in Bhagavatam, but in supplementary literature, and I heard it from the Acharyas. So we have the heavenly planets, right? And then we have the subterranean planets, Patal, Lok, Satal, Tulatal, Rasatal, like that, right? And then we also have hellish planets, right? Narakloka, hellish planets, right? They are different from Patal, Satal, Tulatal, like that, right? Satal, Tulatal are just subterranean planets. Hellish planets are where you get punished, right? So there are quite a few hellish planets, as expected. If citizens are naughty, then the government has to create a lot of jails, right? Similarly, Brahma had to create a lot of planets, hellish planets for, chastising us. And you will not believe. So depending on the kind of things that you do, you go to a particular planet to suffer the punishment and be reformed, right? And so people do different kinds of things, right? Which planetary systems, like, if somebody is lusty, you'll have to arrange more planets for them, right? Like that. So for which sin or for which offense do you think there are the most number of planets?
Kāma and krodha.
Anger.
Kāma and krodha. You have to choose one.
Anger.
Huh?
Anger, Mataji.
Anger, exactly. One would think that kāma would be the answer. Krodha. For anger that we do. So anger is a wasted emotion, as Sukamal Radhe Mataji was saying in the beginning, that, anger is that you're taking punishment for somebody else's wrong, because you're spoiling everything in your body by being angry. The blood pressure goes up, the way your breathing is out of whack, the toxins get produced in your body, foam comes out of your mouth, and then bad words come out of your mouth, bad thoughts come
You
into
cannot take them back. Words, you cannot take them back.
Correct.
Once we lose bad words.
There you go.
But Mataji, if someone is telling lie in front of you and that person is lying, that time also you will be angry, right? How to handle?
Why do you have to be angry?
Yes, I want to know.
This is what the verse is saying, that you don't have to be angry, right? For example, if I tell you like Mr. XYZ is being hanged to death tonight because he killed somebody, you won't be that angry. So some of these angers come from attachment, right? And between anger, and that's why we constantly read the Bhagavad-gita every week, every day, right? And the reason for doing that is to constantly remind us that if a person is lying, right, fine, all that, but then there's a soul there, there's a body, there's a whole thing that's going on over there, right? And by my being angry at that person is not going to help. Having said that, anger sometimes is required. For example, parents have to show anger on their kids, right, to control them. If a policeman is not angry, right, if he finds a thief, stealing somebody or beating somebody or creating a ruckus there, and he would just say like, excuse me, please, but I'm so sorry, but I have to handcuff you, that won't work, right? Sometimes you have to show the authority. So that's okay when you're doing it. But again, people do anger. And one of the things that I had mentioned, this was something that one of my vice presidents told me, and that it has stuck in my mind a lot. And he was talking about how we get stimulus all the time in our lives, right? We get stimulated into getting angry. Yes or yes? Do you get stimulus? Did you ever get stimulated?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes. Yeah, just be honest about it. Yeah. Right? So we get stimulated. Like kids will do that. Those who have kids will do that, or family members will do that. And why do they make us so much more angry? Because there's an expectation, there's a relationship, there's an attachment. And so with that attachment comes an expectation that they will behave like this, and they don't behave like this, and then we get angry, right? So what he was saying was that, this is your grounded position. Shant, peaceful. This is what I should be. My consciousness should be like this, right? And then suddenly what happens is that some kid comes and say like, I failed maths. And you get angry. You have been telling the child to study and not studying it. So then what happens? There's a spike. There's an anger, right? You scold the child. But then the idea is to come back to these positions quickly. Don't let it linger. Don't let you continue to be punished by somebody else's mistakes. I really like it. Don't let that happen to you, right? And also Sutapa, with anger will also come hand in hand, will come forgiveness. They go hand in hand. It's the anecdote. It's the antidote, not anecdote. It's the antidote to anger. Is forgiveness. Right? I mean, what did people do to Jesus Christ? They put him on a stake and put nails to his forehead, right? And hands and all that, right? He had a right to be angry. What did he say?
Kill them because they don't know what they are
doing.
They don't know what they are doing. So forgiving, right?
But we are very conditioned, Mataji. We are not elevated like that.
That's fine. That's why you want to be elevated or not.
Yeah.
There you go.
They're not.
So those are our role models, right? Kunti Maharani, not Kunti Maharani, Draupadi, Ashwathama. Ashwathama had killed all of Draupadi's sons.
Yeah.
5 of them, right? And Arjuna, and she's crying, and Arjuna says, okay, let me go and get the head of that person. You can stand on his head and take your shower. So angry, Kshatriya. He's saying that. Second, you can do that. And then when he finally goes, captures Ashwathama and brings him to, and says, Draupadi, here he is. My beloved, I brought him here. What does she say? Then she starts on. Oh, but he's the son of your teacher, and your teacher has made you what you are is because of your teacher. And you can just imagine how bad I'm feeling without a son. So my son's having gone. So how bad his mother is going to feel. Like that, so forgiving. So forgiving, right? The story of Durvasa Muni. Right? He was, what's the story of Durvasa Muni?
Amrish Maharaj also forgave him instantly when he came back.
Correct, right? So he ran after, he cursed and wanted to kill Amrish Maharaj, created a being, right? And then Krishna comes with the Sudarshan Chakra, and he's fleeing from one planet to another planet system. And he goes to Shiva, he goes to Brahma, and he says, no, Sudarshan Chakra, we can't do anything. You have to go to Vishnu. And then he goes to Vishnu and says, Vishnu, Trahimam. And then Vishnu says, oh, you have to go to the devotee and beg for his forgiveness, right? And then he comes back to Amrish Maharaj. And what does Amrish Maharaj do? Forgives him. Right? And so for anger, forgiveness is the counterpart, right? And with that, we will get peace in our lives. Otherwise, that thought will keep on lingering in our heads. Till we do something drastic. And they will magnify, right? What does mind do? Mind magnifies the problems. Right? So it will magnify the problem for you. The more you think, the angrier you'll get till you do something. It will manifest in some actions there, right? So this anger actually, right? Actually, anger keeps on coming in our lives because of there are stimuluses for us, right? And let's look at a verse from Bhagavad-gita on where the stimulus is coming from. What example does he give? And we have done this example previously. So let me bring it up here and start sharing with you on the screen. This is from 2nd chapter of Bhagavad-gita. And let's see. Okay, so here it's saying, Apuryamanam machila pratishtham samudrama pa pravishanti yadvat Tadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve sashantimapnoti na kāma-kami. So what does it say? A person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enter like rivers into the ocean, which is ever being filled, but is always still, can alone achieve peace, and not the man who strives to satisfy such desires. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Although the vast ocean is always filled with water, it is always, especially during the rainy season, being filled with much more water. But the ocean remains the same, steady. It is not agitated, nor does it cross beyond the limit of its brink. That is also true of the person fixed in Krishna consciousness. As long as one has the material body, the demands of the body for sense gratification will continue. The devotee, however, is not disturbed by such desires because of his fullness. A Krishna conscious man is not in need of anything because the Lord fulfills all his material necessities. Therefore, he is like the ocean, always full in himself. Desires may come to him like the waters from the rivers that flow into the ocean, but he is steady in his activities and he is not even slightly disturbed by desires for sense gratification. That is a proof of a Krishna conscious man, one who has lost all inclinations for material sense gratification, although the desires are present. Because he remains satisfied in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, he can remain steady like the ocean and therefore enjoy full peace. Others, however, who want to fulfill desires even up to the limit of liberation, what to speak of material success, never attain peace. The fruitive workers, the salvationists, and also the yogis who are after mystic powers are all unhappy because of unfulfilled desires. But the person in Krishna consciousness is happy in the service of the Lord, and he has no desires to be fulfilled. In fact, he does not even desire liberation from the so-called material bondage. The devotees of Krishna have no material desires, and therefore they are in perfect peace. Okay. Vasudeva parasarve na kutaschina bhivyati swarga apavarga narkeshu apitulyata darshina. So those who are devotees of the Lord, they don't care, they don't fear anything. For them, swarg and nark, both of them are same. All that they are saying, okay, you want to put me in the hellish planets? Okay, even in the hellish planet, let me do your duty, your devotional service. Even if I am put in the heavenly planet, there also it's very important for me to do the duties. And something very important for us to keep in mind always is that there is danger in every step in this material world. Agree or not agree?
Padam padam parve padam.
There you go, right? Shastric evidence. So padam padam yat vipadam natesham. So there is danger at every step. And do you know what is the real danger? The real danger is to forget that there is danger. That is the real danger. And sometimes we get so confident of ourselves. We get so confident of ourselves that, you know, I'm doing a devotee, I'm such a nice devotee, I'm chanting, nothing's going to happen to me, right? Like Vishwamitra, 10,000 years practicing meditation, right? And then for a different reason though, right? He was not worshipping the Lord. Then one ankle sound from ankle bell, right? And that's it, it was gone. So now lesson learned, okay? Close your ears, put earplugs when you're doing devotional service because main might come or the equivalent. So then, you know, having learned the lessons, lesson learned. So then Subaru Mani said that, you know what, this Menka, she walks on the ground. I'm going to go under the water. Very confident. Forgot about the danger. That there can be danger inside the water also, right? Rest is history, right? His fall down happened inside the water. So one of the important things to keep in mind is that do not forget that there is danger everywhere. Padam padam yat vipadam natesham, and keep on reminding yourself that there is danger, there is danger, there is danger, there is danger. Like that, right? So let's go back and look at our verse again and see what more does the verse tell us, right? So kāma-krodha-vimuktānāṁ. Yatīnāṁ yata-cetasām. Abhito brahma-nirvāṇam vartate vidita-ātmanām. So let's look at the word meanings for this verse. Kama is
Desire.
okay. Vimuktānāṁ,
Of those who are liberated.
those who are liberated. Correct. Okay. And what is yatīnām?
Saintly person.
Saintly person.
Saintly person, right? And yata-cetasām.
Who have
Full
full
control.
control over the mind.
Do you want to have full control of the mind?
Who have.
No, I'm saying, do you want to become a yata-cetasām?
Yes.
Yes,
Correct. For 500 points, right? Okay. And what does it mean? What does abhitaḥ mean?
Assured in the near future.
Near future, right? Soon. Okay. Brahma-nirvāṇam. We have been hearing this word for quite some time now in this chapter.
Liberation.
Liberated in the Supreme.
Liberation in the Supreme, right? And then vidita-ātmanām.
Self-realized.
Those who are self-realized.
Self-realized, right? Okay. So this verse was saying that if you get free from kama and krodha, right? Those who are free from anger and all material desires, right? Who are self-realized, right? Who are self-realized, vidita-ātmanām, right? Self-disciplined and constantly endeavoring for perfection. Self-discipline comes from yata-cetasām, because discipline comes from when you have your control over the mind, right? Now, something very interesting to keep here in mind as we are practicing to control. And Preeti Mataji, you had asked that question that, I have so much desire, what do I do? Right? How do I control? I have got so much attachment. How do I control that, right? So as we are practicing, we're all doing sadhana bhakti. So as we are practicing sadhana bhakti, one thing we always have to remember in our mind is that if you have self-control, give me an example of self-control.
Resisting eating the food you like the best.
Correct. Too much of that, right? Okay. Another example of
I was
self-control.
about to tell that.
Okay. But that's not the only one. Are there more examples?
Not to watch too much of social media.
Okay, social media, yes. What's more?
Not to
Entertainment.
control. Oh, sorry, Meera Mataji, please go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Entertainment like TVs and videos and
Correct, right? So, so one of the things to keep in mind is that, so suppose like, we were addicted to a particular show that comes on the television, or, a particular page on Facebook, and we have been spending so many hours, and then we said, no, I'm going to control the mind. And so a couple of things happened, right?
unless I finish my
Yes,
chanting, I don't want to see any.
Correct, right? So these are determinations that we made, nishtha, right? And so we are saying, okay, I won't watch the TV. 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 I won't go to Facebook. I won't go to Facebook. I won't go to Facebook. What have we been thinking about all along?
Thinking it both.
The same thing. The same thing.
Television and Facebook, right? So it's an interesting thing that, today I was in a meeting it was a meeting of the whole team. So our manager came in, we were all on video, and he said that, you know what, I'm not in a condition to come on a video because his contact lens stayed in the eye and he had a red eye. And then somehow he came and then he said, please don't look at my red eye.
Interesting.
And guess what we did?
You look at it.
Kept looking at it.
So I told him, we are all looking at your red eye at this time, just because you said, don't look at my red eye. So this is our nature, right? You tell not to do it, we do it, right? So as we are doing this, one thing is, as we are trying to control these thoughts, this is not a good way of doing it, right? Okay, but suppose you found out some other way, and we'll talk about that some other way, and you control, right? Like one midnight, you did not have that mango ice cream. So we are getting very nice, I did that, right? Or attachment, my fun, I felt detached from everything that was happening. And Sutapa Mataji controlled the anger at somebody who was lying before her. She did not say anything to him, like, very good, I controlled, right? So as we are progressing in self-control, right, we have to remember we should not think that we are the controllers. Tanat api sunichena taror eva sahashnuna amanina manadena. Right? So once you have that consciousness, then only can you do kirtan, can do chant your rounds properly. Right? What? Ishvara Sarvak Krishna. Who came from Bhakti Shastri exam? There was a Bhakti Shastri exam this Sunday.
What was it? What's the question?
I was asking who did the Bhakti Shastri exam. I'm looking for the first verse or second verse.
Oh.
First, not 0.
Isavasyam.
Idam sarvam. Ishavasyam idam sarvam.
Yes.
Yaktena jagatyam jagat.
Yat kincha jagatyam.
Yat kincha jagatyam.
Jagatyam.
Tena
Tyaktena.
Yaktena bhunjita. Magridas. Magrida kasyasa.
Kasyas with dhanam, right? So what it means is that, Ishavasyam, I'm the controller of everything.
Everything.
And then you just enjoy whatever has been set aside as your quota and do not covet things that do not belong to you.
Yeah.
Right? And then Brahma Samhita, what's the first verse of Brahma Samhita?
Ishvara Parama Krishna.
Ishvara Parama Krishna.
Ishvara Parama Krishna, what does it mean?
Ishvara Parama Krishna.
Govinda is the supreme personality.
Supreme what?
Supreme. Or
Supreme what? Krishna is supreme. Ishvara Parama. Parama is supreme. Krishna, you said. So Krishna is supreme what? He is the supreme Ishwar. Ishwar means controller.
Lord.
Controller. Ishwar means controller. So Krishna is the supreme controller, right? So we have to remember there are two aspects of things. One is a controller and the other is a cooperator, right? And then in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad-gita, Krishna says, Mame vansho jivaloke
jivata sanatanaha
manahashasthani indriyani akriti sthani karshati. So he's saying, everybody is a part of me.
Parcel of me.
So we have to remember that mood. We have to be in that mood that we are parts and parcels of Krishna. And so suppose there is, like, you see how have you worked on a hand sewing machine? Not worked on a
No.
right? So there's a shuttle there, right, which goes underneath, which has the thread in it, and then there's thread from the top, right? Thread comes from two positions and it stitches, right? So if you take off the shuttle outside, right, if you remove it from the big machine, what can that piece of thread do? Nothing, right? But if you put it inside the machine, then it can come up with so many beautiful patterns of stitches that you can do, right? So similarly, us as Mame Vansho Jivaloke, us as partner, as parts and parcels of Krishna, we should be cooperating with Krishna and not be the shuttle that pops out of the machine and falls on the ground. Used to happen to me all the time. So like that, right? So as we are trying to control our senses, trying to control our desires, trying to control our attachments, our mood should always be that Krishna is the supreme controller. And there's a very good reason why you should be thinking like that. And the reason you should be thinking like that is, suppose you don't think Krishna is the controller, right? Suppose you're thinking you are the controller. And then one day, you are not able to control whatever you're trying to control. What's going to happen?
Still we cannot do.
No. Krishna is out of the picture. We are taking that situation, case A, where we are saying that we are the controllers. We control everything, right? So I'm controlling the anger. Yeah, day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 15th of May, from 1st of January, I controlled. And 15th of May, I just lost it. Then if I'm thinking that I'm the controller, right, then it'll be a devastating thing for me because I lost it, right? So it's all about the mood and the consciousness that we have. On the other hand, if our consciousness was not that, if our consciousness was Krishna is the supreme controller, he has a will, he wants to do, he has a plan, I'm just trying to cooperate and go along with that plan that Krishna has for me, right? Then in that case, if I'm not able to do anything, I will just turn around and I'll look at Krishna and I'll say, Krishna, please help me. I'm not able to do what you want me to do. So there's a mood of surrender.
Right.
And then the consciousness says that, okay, if I was not able to do this, right, there must be something that Krishna is trying to teach me. So failures are easier to handle in our lives when we get rid of the controllership that is inherent in us, because we are parts and parcel of Krishna. So because we are parts and parcel of Krishna, because he is a controller, we are also little controllers. We want to control here and there, right? Right? Who are the things that we try to control?
First of all, our kids, and then husband.
People, yeah, in
I thought husband
general.
and kids. Right? We try to control everything, right? In our lives, diet patterns and everything. And that controlling streak becomes so much that we get angry if others don't listen to our commands. But anger is not good for devotional service. Okay? So our mood should be such that, humble, tanadapi sunichena, humble mood. If the mood is like that, then we are going to, right? So let's continue on with the verse. It's a very, very powerful verse, and Prabhupada has brought a very nice, I'm just trying to bring where my share button is. Okay,
Which
here.
one?
5.26.
5.26, yeah.
Right? So then here is a very interesting thing. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, where Prithu Maharaj, meets the four Kumaras. And so Prithu Maharaj is being, facilitated. A lot of people are coming, the meeting, and these four Kumaras also come to meet him. And then Prithu Maharaj asks them a lot of questions, philosophical questions, and they start answering them. So one of the things that they tell here, and it's a beautiful verse, Yat pada pankaja palasha vilasa bhaktya karmashayam ghatitam utagatayanti santaha tadvanna rikta matayo yatayo piruddha shroto ganastam aranam bhaja vasudevam. Right? So here this is saying, they tell him, to Prithu Maharaj, they say, what are we supposed to do? He's saying, just try to worship in devotional service Vasudev, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is something that I repeat every week, right? Solution to every problem. Try to worship the Lord, right? So here he's saying, even great sages are not able to control the forces of their senses as effectively as those engaged in transcendental bliss by serving the lotus feet of the Lord. So there's a comparison. If you are a Muni, right? Durvasa Muni, Vishwamitra, Saubari Muni, they all lost it. Right? But Haridas Thakur, on the other hand, King Ambarish, on the other hand, they were devotees of the Lord, right? So they were engaged in devotional service. And so they are able to control the forces of the senses much more effectively. So what should we do?
Control the senses.
What should we do?
We have to control our senses.
What should we do? Correct. You should worship. You should do devotional service of Vasudeva, right? Trying to control the sensitive Vindhyavali Mataji, even these great sages were doing, right? And they were failing, right?
Yeah.
So the correct answer is that you should do devotional service to the Vasudeva, right? And so here he's saying, in the conditioned soul, the desire to enjoy the fruitive results of work is so deep-rooted that it's very difficult even for the great sages to control such desires, despite great endeavors. A devotee of the Lord constantly engaged in devotional service and Krishna consciousness, perfect in self-realization, very quickly attains liberation in the Supreme. Owing to his complete knowledge and self-realization, he always remains in trance. Now, it's a very interesting thing that he's talking about here. A couple of things. One is that they talked about quickly attains liberation, right? Quickly attains liberation. When we go back to the verse, what was the verse that talked about something happening quickly? What's the Sanskrit here?
Krodha.
Quickly.
Oh.
Which word from here will you equate to something happening quickly?
See,
Abhita.
Abhitaḥ, correct, for 500 points. It's assured in the near future, right? Now, I would like to contrast this verse with the verse that we did few weeks ago, which was 5.23, our famous Shaknoti Haiva Yashodham, right? Shaknoti Haiva Yashodham, right? So he's saying, what does it say? Before giving up his present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he's well situated and is happy in this verse, right? Which is sort of sounds like what we are saying, right? Those who are free from anger and all material desires, right? So, but there's a difference between the two verses, right? So if I put them side by side, in 5.23, he's saying that those who are, if before you give up the present body, if you are able to tolerate the urges of material sense, then you are happy in this world. Right? But what he's saying, before giving up this body, so you will be happy because because anger tortures you, right? It's like being punished for somebody else's mistake, and you'll be punished throughout life. But what he's saying is that before you give up this life, if you attain that stage, you'll be happy. And then in the next life, again, before you give up the life, you have to do that again and again and again. Because here there is no touch of saying in that verse, if you just look at the Sanskrit like that, it's not talking about any bhaja vasudevam. It's just saying that you control your anger. You could control your anger in so many ways, right? Put earplugs, right? But then, you could be without anger for so many days or without lusty desire for so many days. And then you see some fishes and then you're gone, right? Like that. So because the desire have not gone and anger comes from unfulfilled desires, right? So what we are trying to do is we are trying to control our senses. And here they do say, right? If I go back again here. So in our verse from today, he's saying that 5.26, those who are free from anger or material, who are self-realized, self-disciplined constantly, and are surely assured of everything in the very near future. So there it was till the end of the life, you control, be happy, then again another life, as many lives as you want. But here he's saying in the near future, means that it can happen even in your own life. Maharaj Khadbanga, in 30 seconds he realized God and went back. So that is when you bring in the element of the Supreme Personality of Godhead into your life, miracles are going to happen there, right? So here, this is a beautiful verse, and Prabhupada, amazing choice of verse that he has brought up, right? So he's saying, Yat pada pankaja palasha vilasa bhaktiya. So he's saying, try to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even great sages are not able to control the urges. Let me bring this verse here, because let us go deep into the word meaning of this verse, and then we can contrast, the two verses, today's verse and this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. And what a nice choice Prabhupada has made here, right? So he's saying, Yat pada pankaja, yat, whose, pad, feet, pankaja, lotus, palash, petals or toes, vilas, enjoyment, bhaktya, by devotional service, karma, fruitive activities, ashayam, desire, grathitam, hard knot, udgratiyanti, root out, santaha, devotees, tat, that, vat, like, na, never, riktamataya, persons devoid of devotional services, riktamataya, yatayaha, ever increasingly trying, api, even though, ruddha, stopped, Shrota ganaha, the waves of sense enjoyment. Tam, unto him, aranam, worthy to take shelter, bhaja, engage in devotional service, Vasudevam, unto Krishna, the son of Vasudeva. So translation, he's saying, the devotees, and these are the four Kumaras, that I think the oldest one tells this to Prithu Maharaj, the devotees who are always engaged in the service of the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord can very easily overcome hard-knotted desires for fruitive activities. Because this is very difficult, the non-devotees, the jnanis and the yogis, although trying to stop the waves of sense gratification, cannot do so. Therefore, you are advised to engage in the devotional service of Lord, the son of Vasudeva. Simple. They gave him the advice. This is what you should do. Engage in the devotional service of the Lord. And these material desires come in waves. And the waves are all around us, right? You sit with a little transistor radio in your hand and you can tune it. and catch FM channel, AM channel. I don't know how many channels are there these days. You can tune and you can get to those channels, right? However, if you instead tune yourself to Krishna, right? So what are the jnanis, yogis, and those who meditate and all that kind of stuff? They are trying to say that I'm going to control my mind, right? So let's go back here in our verse from today, which I lost right now. So let me bring it up again. 5.26. Okay. So 5.26 here is saying that yatīnām, yata-cetasām, saintly persons who have full control over the mind. So talking about saintly persons who have full control of the mind. So then the idea is, okay, let us fully control the mind, because then kāma and krodha will go away, right? So how do you fully control your mind? So one approach is like, as I told you a little while ago, I won't think of this, I won't think of this, I won't think of this, right? You won't think of this, then you're thinking of that thing again, right? So for example, if there is I don't have a cup around here, if there's a cup, right? And there is air inside it, and you want to remove the air from the cup, that is your task to do. Okay, so you take the cup and you turn it upside down. What's going to happen to the air?
Will be trapped in the cup.
Will it go away? Remember, your goal was to remove the air from the cup, right?
No, it won't.
It won't go away, right? Okay. Can you blow it? Can you scoop it with a spoon and throw it out?
No.
No, you can't, right? However, if you take a glass of water and you put it in the cup, the air will go away. Right? So similarly, rikta matayo, well, so if you have to clean your mind of material desires, and these material desires, and the stimulus is coming like waves. And what we were talking about, Bhagavad-gita 2.70, we said that they come as waves, but what you have to be like the ocean. Right? Because these waves of desire will come like that, like waves, one after the other, one after the other, many rivers coming and dropping the water in the ocean, but you have to be calm and quiet, like an ocean, and not be disturbed by these urges. So, but what do? I have my senses. They're seeking information, right? The ears are listening. You start television over there and my ears will be tuned there, right? So our senses are made like that. They're seeking sense objects. What do? So you have to use substitution. Just as we substituted the air inside the cup by water, similarly, you have to substitute the thoughts by something else. The thoughts of material things, substitute them by thoughts of Krishna. Right? So when you only by doing that will you become yata-cetasām. You will become yata-cetasām, right? And so a very nice example again, Prabhupada gives in the purport of the same verse. And I'm just going to bring that up again here. He's saying, Darshana dhyana samsparshe matsya kurma vihangamaha swani apatyani pushnanti tataham api padmaja. By vision, by meditation, and by touch only do the fish, the tortoise, and the birds maintain their offspring. Similarly, so do I, O Padmaja. So why Prabhupada has brought this particular verse in this chapter, right? In verse against this particular shloka, right? So what we are trying to say is that we want to become yata-cetasām. We want to become one who has controlled the mind. Sutapa Mataji is saying, how do I control my anger? Priti Mataji was saying, how do I overcome my attachments? Right? Like that. These are all, you have to control your mind to do that. Okay. So one thing was that, you populate your mind with other things, right? And the example that was given is very, very interesting example. It says that birds by touch take care of their offspring, right? So a bird will lay its eggs, and then the bird will sit on the eggs, give it warmth for so many days, and then the chicken will hatch. Right? They come out. So they take care of the kids like that by being in constant touch with them, right? And then the other example was given was that the fishes. So the fish will be swimming inside the sea, and then they will lay their eggs somewhere and they will watch. They don't sit on the eggs like that, right? They just watch the eggs. And then tortoise, even more powerful. The tortoise comes out of the sea to lay its eggs and then goes back again into the sea. But while it is in the sea, it is constantly meditating on the eggs that it has laid. And by the power of its meditation, the eggs remain safe, right? Now, the question may be asked is that, or those who doubt will say that science cannot prove it, right? But science doesn't know everything, right? So science right now cannot tell you whether a tortoise is meditating or not, right? But if our Shastras are telling us, because Shastras come from Krishna, who doesn't have the 4 material defects, we take it as the truth, right? He's saying it, and we accept the fact that science is not that much advanced today to be able to tell us whether a tortoise is meditating or not, right? Or whether fish is really looking at the eggs. But if they are written in the Shastras, then there is truth. And that's our faith in the Shastra, that we said that that's what is happening, right? So in this example, what they're saying is that if the fish can, by looking, have an effect and still be connected, you can be connected to somebody just by looking at it. And tortoise, just by meditating on the eggs, actually reaches the eggs, right? In the meditation, it is close to the eggs. Similarly, what I'm saying is that if I engage my mind in Krishna, I will go to Krishna. And when you go to Krishna, that is brahma-nirvāṇaṁ, that you are liberated in the Supreme, right? You're liberated in the Supreme. You're connected to Supreme 24/7. That's why you can be liberated in the Supreme, even in this material world. You don't have to die to do that, right? All the time you think of Krishna, then you're liberated there, right? So today's verse is saying that if you do that, if you engage yourself in devotional service of the Lord, then good things are going to happen to you. You will get brahma-nirvāṇaṁ. And how long is it going to take? It's going to happen very quickly, right? But all we have to do, watch out for anger. Anger is a killer. Anger is a killer. And Rishabh-dev also talks about that in Srimad Bhagavatam, and he's teaching his 100 sons, So he also says that, how do you get, liberated from this material world? Okay? And over and over again, every time in the scriptures, all scriptures of all religions, no religion supports anger, right? So we should abandon it. And the only way to abandon it is to engage ourselves in the service of Krishna, right? If someday we are not able to make food for Krishna, at the level of devotional service that we are right now, we don't get very angry. But if one day we don't get food, it's very difficult, right? Like that. So let me bring up one more verse here and see. The Rishabh-dev stories of teachings to his son. This is from the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 5th chapter. And let's look at this verse for close as a parting understanding for all of us. Mahat sevam dwaram ahur vimuktes tamo dwaram yoshitam sangi sangam mahantaste samachitta prashanta vimanyavaha suhrida sadhavaye. So what it's saying, one can attain the path of liberation from material bondage only by rendering service to highly advanced spiritual personalities. So Mataji, your question about Preeti, about how to get over material attachments, right? By rendering service to highly advanced spiritual personalities. Mahats, Mahat means Mahat Sevam, right? So
That is the spiritual.
So rendering service to highly advanced spiritual personalities. These personalities are impersonalists and devotees. So remember, here, look at that as a very radical statement. And impersonalist is also a Mahat. Whether one wants to merge into the Lord's existence or want to associate with personality of Godhead, one should render service to the Mahatmas. For those who are not interested in such activities and who associate with people fond of women and sex, the path to hell is wide open. He says, Tamo dwaram. Tamo dwaram is Tamo dwaram yoshitam sangi sangam. Yoshita means ladies. So those who engage in, relationships with ladies, then, and if you associate with such people, then doors to hell are open to you, right? So whether one wants to, okay, sorry, for those who are not interested, the path to hell is wide open. The Mahatmas are equipoised. They do not see any difference between one living entity and another. Give me a verse from Bhagavad-gita that says supports this. Bhagavad-gita.
Brahma-nirvāṇaṁ. What is that? Brahma-nirvāṇaṁ.
Yes, very good, for 500 points. Vidya Vinaya
Vinaya
Sampanne.
Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Sunuchaivasra Pakecha Panditan Samadarshana.
There you go. So now you remembered, Mataji, a verse. You were saying, I never remember. See, you remember. They are very peaceful and fully engaged in devotional service. They are devoid of
Anger.
And they work for the benefit of everyone. They do not behave in any abominable way. Such people are known as Mahatmas. And for us, we just need to serve the Mahatmas. Why? Because Sushusho Sattadhanasya Vasudeva Katharuchi Syan Mehat Sevya Vipra. If we do seva to the Lord, then we will develop a desire to hear Krishna Katha. Right? That comes only from doing devotional service to the, by doing service to the Mahatmas. Okay. And then once you develop that to listen to Krishna Katha, then Krishna Katha will have its effect on you. And when you go to listen, when there is Krishna Katha happening someplace, who all are impacted by that? Like Krishna Katha is happening today here.
All of
Where are
us.
we?
Huh?
Where are we?
The students.
That's what we think, right? The students, but the teacher also gets benefited. Right?
Yes,
Oh.
Teacher also
and
gets
there are so
benefited.
many small living entities are in the room. They are also
Correct.
Insects.
In all,
Insects also.
insects also, right? Bacteria, everything, everybody gets affected by that. Everybody gets benefited by that. Right? And actually, this is a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, and I want to share that with you as evidence from the Shastras that this is what it is, right? Excuse me. Sangamaha kalu sadhunam ubhayesham cha sammataha yat sambhashana samprashnaha sarvesham vitanoti sam. This again is the four Kumaras talking to Prithu Maharaj. Where there is a congregation of devotees, their discussions, questions, and answers become conclusive to both the speaker and the audience. Thus, such a meeting is beneficial for everyone's real happiness. And we just quoted today that audience doesn't mean that's who we are here. Audience is those who are on Facebook, on YouTube. Audience is also those who listen to the recording. Audience is also
Who ask questions
in this room. Everybody in the room will get benefited by that. Okay. So all the key point is to stay away from anger. And anger is a big detriment for devotional service. That we have to keep in mind. Any benefits that we have accumulated, they get dissolved by one burst of anger, and that's it. You know, you're gone. Shastras say that you should not be angry for more than 26 minutes. After that, it becomes really bad for your body.
Mataji, any insect also, if it is going that side, if I push it, if I try to turn that back, she won't do it. She gets angry. Insect too.
Yes, because there's the same soul inside, right?
And anger is there with everybody.
Yeah.
So God has given that, but He says don't use it.
Yeah.
That is
But why 26 minutes, Mataji? How did that number
I
come?
don't. Well, the same way as tortoise meditates.
Oh, we don't know. Yeah.
And
Okay.
26, I think, is also a ghadi. A ghatak, I think it's 26 minutes or 24, I'm forgetting. Yeah. But they say 26 minutes. Yeah. Not more than that. Okay, so I'll stop here. Any questions or reflections for a few minutes?
It's very good. I got it.
Simi Mataji. I just spoke for like an hour and a half.
Mataji, but anger is such a, something to, it's so out of control.
It's so second nature to us.
We all
We
know
are
that.
conditioned to just get angry.
Fun part is we all know that anger is bad. But spur of the moment, sometimes we all get it. And afterwards, some of us feel, no, I should not have been angry and I should have controlled. And I listen to Bhagavad-gita. But spur of the moment, we're all.
You know, interesting thing, you know, and I have seen that, I've observed that on myself. I was very, very angry at somebody because of what they were doing, right? And just a few weeks ago. And do you know what I did? I just picked up the scripture, I started reading it, and the anger was gone. That is the only, like I said, Krishna, connect yourself with Krishna, connect yourself with Krishna. Because when you're getting angry, the mind has got complete control over you.
Yeah.
All the reasoning is gone outside, right?
You lose control. You lose your control.
Right? And memory is gone. There was the famous verses are there in the 3rd chapter, right? First you have desire, desire is not fulfilled, then you get krodha, after krodha, your memory is lost, then memory is lost, intelligence is gone, and you fall down again, right?
Yeah.
So that thing continuously happens. So that's why what we are saying is, if you're doing sadhana bhakti, we are practicing, right? And in the practicing, as long as our mood is like that of a cooperator with Krishna and not a controller, right? Then when we fail also, then again we'll be praying to Krishna. So also remember, here's a very interesting thing. Sarvasya chaham hidi sannivishto matta smrite jnanam apohanam cha. So from within so from within the heart, he's also giving you the knowledge. So knowledge just doesn't mean that from within the heart, Krishna gives you knowledge and you start reciting Bhagavad-gita verses. He's giving you knowledge about everything, which could also mean knowledge on how to control anger. So the interesting thing is that it's not just you are trying to control the anger. Krishna is also trying to help you control the anger. Mata, Data, Pitamaha, he's a parent, right? So he's helping us all along. And that's why we say that when we turn our face, the 2 birds sitting on a tree, when one of them is eating, enjoying, suffering, crying, and the other one is observing, the super soul, right? And once this bird turns around, right? And that's when the super soul will start acting on the bird and take care of the bird, like that. So Krishna, remember, Krishna is also trying to help us. Allow him to help us. Don't allow him to help us, because like, I'll do it. You see, sometimes you have kids, our children when they were small, right? And they're struggling with something like, do you want to tie the shoelaces? And then you go and say, can I do it? I can do it. And they're struggling. They're struggling for another 15 minutes and they'll get angry. They'll take off the shoe and they'll throw it away, right? Instead of that, learn to surrender to Krishna. Learn to ask. Although surrender, asking for help, asking for opinions are things which are not taught to us or not expected of us in the material world, right? But in the spiritual world, things are different. Remember, the mood has got to be of a das, and das.
Mataji, but as Sukomal Mataji was saying, all the Maharishis and everybody, they also got angry and, destroyed so much. So they were elevated souls and they were devotees of Krishna. If they could fall, then how can...
So which devotee of Krishna? Which devotee of Krishna? If a person is called Muni, Muni doesn't mean that he's a devotee. I just want to clarify that, right? A Muni, Prabhupada explains in Bhagavad-gita, a Muni is somebody who can rake his brain, he can titillate his brain and come up with a new idea. So, who are the modern day Munis? The modern day Munis are the PhD folks who have to come up with a new thing, right? If I come and say, hey, I'm going to do a PhD, and my thesis is on the fact that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. They'll be like, is that your theory? That Newton said hundreds of years ago. Give us something new. They have to give something new. That is a Muni. Whereas a Bhakta doesn't want to create anything new. He says, I want to hear things as it is. I don't want to add anything to it. So Durvasa Muni is a Muni. He's not necessarily a great Bhakta. But in contrast, you see, Ambarish Maharaj, He's Maharaj, he's a king. But he was a devotee of the Lord. That's why he was able to control his anger. And Durvasa Muni was not able to control his anger. Right? And the degree to which also you control the anger and how you react. There's a famous story again with Durvasa Muni, I think. I don't remember it completely, but then he wanted, he was like, so what is this Vishnu? Why is everybody explaining how Vishnu is very nice, Karuna Sindhu and all that kind of stuff, right? So he goes there, and so he goes to meet Brahma, and he ignores Brahma, and so Brahma gets angry, like, I gave birth to you, I created you, and this is how you behave, you didn't respect me. So Brahma gets angry, and then he goes there and he does something silly with Shiva also, right? And then Shiva also loses it. And then he comes to Vishnu. And then Vishnu's lying, and then he goes and kicks Vishnu on the chest. Right? I mean, how much more angry anybody should get? You have been kicked in the chest, right? And then Vishnu says, what does Vishnu say?
He says that, have I hurt you? Because my heart is made of, very stone-hearted. So have I hurt your foot?
There you go. That's the mood of a devotee.
Mataji.
And that's what a Vaishnava is. That's what we are Vaishnavas. So there is hope. There is hope. I would also like to say that Guru Maharaj says a very nice thing, Simi Mataji, and that is, be like a honeybee and don't be like a fly, right? And what that means is that in a story where we have Durvasa Muni and where we have Amrish Muni, so a fly is going to go after Durvasa and pick up the essence from the story that, okay, Durvasa also failed, so I will also fail, right? But the honey bee is going to go to the same place and is going to go and find out where is the honey, take out the honey from that story. And the honey from that story is Amrish Maharaj could control it. So, I'm also a devotee of the Lord. Lord, please be merciful on me. Please let me also control. That is the constant mood. And so once you get into that mood, you will be successful. If you think that all others fail, so how can I succeed? You've already failed, right? So have a positive can-do attitude. Impossible, Prabhupada used to say, is a word in the fool's dictionary. He said, nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible. You remember for Chaitanya Charitamrita, when people were translating it and he wanted those books to be published in, I think, 3 months. And they had said, like, so many volumes is going to take us, so many years to do that. And then he just said, no, do it. And they did it. He did it. One of the disciples turned around and said, oh, Prabhupada, but that is impossible. He said, you are a fool. Strong, right? And then they did it. They did it, right? So assume it can be done. That was the slogan last year that we had, right? And it was a very nice song also. One of our god sisters, Mani Manjari sang. It's a beautiful song, and assume it can be done. Very beautiful. The song, assume it can be done. So when your spiritual master comes and says, okay, here's the goal, get me $750,000, you assume it can be done. Because you have faith that your spiritual master is asking you to do it. So he will also he will also empower you to be able to do that. Otherwise, they will not ask you to do it like that. So once we have that kind of faith, the faith will take you through.
My grandson, older grandson used to watch when he was young, that Little Engine tape, that Little Engine and Big Engine goes. I don't know whether anybody watched that one. So they go, the big engine, the train goes fast. That little engine cannot go up the hill. But she says that the big engine thinks, no, you cannot come. But the little engine says, I think I can. Slowly she reaches there.
Reaches, yeah. There's a lot of power in thoughts. Thank you so much, Sutapa Mataji, for joining. And I think we should also call it quits on this class. But thank you for joining. Fantastic.
Mataji, Sunday there will be class?
I'm thinking I will have a class. It just depends on how late it gets in the temple tomorrow for me. But I'm planning to have it. That's why I haven't canceled it. If at all I am not, sufficiently rested, then I will write on the San Mateo Bhakti group. But at this point, I'm hoping.
Thank you, Mataji.
Every time I'm sending the sloka also. Mataji, are you getting?
Yes. Yes.
think.
Yeah, please keep them coming.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we will call it quits on this one. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha
कृपासिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः प्रेमानंदे हरिबोल. Thank you, Shraddha Mataji.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you.
Okay.